Alors normalement, j'ai démarré le streaming. Welcome everyone to the 9th session of the seminar Symbolon. Today is a special day. We have a super guest with us. I'm sure you are a super guest. So maybe just before we start, I will introduce the team behind this seminar. So this is a team with Hyeon Kim, associate researcher at ENS, École Normale Supérieure. Eric Petit, senior researcher at Intel. Quentin Barbier, who is technical account at Intel in Paris. And Alix Guiraud, she's the graphist that do all the artistic work. And myself, Adel Shaibi, computer scientist at Intel. And so if you are used to follow us, you know what is this seminar about. It's an interdisciplinary seminar. We call it Symbolon. I invite everyone to look after this word, and why we call it Symbolon comes from the Greek word symbolen, which means it's a token that used to be broken in different pieces, and once you unite all these pieces, the symbol that was designed or printed can be seen. So it's a metaphor to say that basically we want to look into AI era from different perspectives. Not necessarily talking about AI, but understanding what is happening with this technology and build systems that can be safe, at least can help human and not harm. And so as a computer scientist, we know our own limitation, and we think we need to open up the discussion for people from philosophy, sociology, mathematics, and so on. So this is the main idea behind, and we invite you to follow us as much as you can. And so with that, I will introduce our guest, Dominique. Welcome, Dominique.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we have to do the seminar in English. Unfortunately for me, I would prefer to speak in my mother language. But so Dominique Lestel teaches contemporary philosophy and philosophical ethology in the Department of Philosophy at the École Normale Supérieure, Rue Ulm, in Paris. He pioneered the introduction of cognitive science at the École Normale Supérieure during the 90s, and was a founding member of the DEC.
Department of Cognitive Science.
Department of Cognitive Science. So for many years, he directed the Ecology and Cognitive Ethology research team at the Muséum National d'Histoire Naturelle. In 2013-2014, he held a CNRS position in the Department of Computer Science. But this makes me a lot happy, really. In the Department of Computer Science at the University of Tokyo. In 2017 and 2008, he was a laureate of the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, JSPS, and a visiting professor in the robotics laboratory at Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology. In 2018 and 2019, he served as a Berggruen Fellow at the Center for Advanced Study in Behavioral Sciences at Stanford University, and in winter-spring 2025, he was a visiting professor at the University of Tokyo. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm more than excited than you are a computer. So we can say you are a kind of computer scientist.
Oh, no.
No.
I have a kind of culture maybe in computer science, but I am not a computer scientist.
I'm just kidding. So
I like to speak with computer scientists. It's different.
This is really an honor for us. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And so the floor is yours. Today, the topic is, are existential robots dangerous?
Yeah.
Let's move up. Voilà.
So why philosophy? Because philosophy is my field of work, and my talk will be a philosophical talk. So the question could be to know why philosophy could be interesting to be mobilized in thinking about such machines like robots, and especially as we will see, existential and performative robots. Next.
I think the topic is here.
Okay, so what is philosophy? Because I guess that most of the people hearing us are not philosophers. So the question of knowing what is philosophy is not a bad question. And my characterization of philosophy is not a regular one. For me, philosophy is to make stories with facts, impressions, and of course also concepts. The English translation of making story is not so clear, because in French, faire des histoires has two meanings. Not only fabricating fictions, but also generating problems, and even somewhat boring problems. And philosophy is really there. I mean, philosophy is both to tell stories, to tell fictions. And if you refer back to Plato, for example, Plato is always telling stories. And to meet and to make emerge questions and problems. It's not necessarily to solve already existing problems, but to try to detect what problems could be interesting and to try to make sense of these problems. So in that perspective, for me, to do philosophy is not to create concept, as Deleuze said, but more to cultivate concepts. And in that way, for me, to do philosophy is a kind of horticulture.
Agriculture?
Horticulture.
Horticulture.
To make grow flowers, interesting flowers. To make grow concepts as you make grow flowers. And of course, like for flowers, the most subtle and fascinating concepts are the more interesting ones. So the question for me is in that way is not philosophizing with artificial intelligence, because it will be the topic of the talk. But it's not philosophizing. It's philosophizing with artificial intelligence and not philosophizing of artificial intelligence. I mean, I am not in a meta position. I do not take artificial intelligence or robotics as it is to think it, but I try to think about broader questions from the problematic of artificial intelligence and robots. In that way, I wish to avoid a couple of things. The first one is the first to avoid repetition, which means kinds of popularization, to say what engineers say, and I repeat what engineers say, telling or thinking that it could be interesting or it could be true, or especially because it has been said by engineers who are supposed to know what they do. I wish also to avoid a scholarly commentary, very frequent in philosophy, where you give commentaries about the commentaries of other commentaries. It's a very erudite practice. That could be very interesting. That could be very rewarding. But for me, out of the interest of what I wish to do, which is to try to understand some of the questions of contemporary world. I wish also to avoid any form of propaganda. I mean, I wish to avoid to say that we need robots or we need artificial intelligence, that robots or artificial intelligence will solve all kinds of problems and all kinds of questions. That is really the coming technology, and that we have, of course, because it is a conclusion, the right conclusion, we have to put money on these technologies. I wish also to avoid prefabricated, all-encompassing approach. It means, in particular, through analytical philosophy. What it means is that it's a kind of top-down philosophy. You already have the concepts that you will mobilize in order to understand the questions you wish to think about. My approach is more a field approach philosophy, which means that I wish to think from a direct contact with technology or with the phenomena I wish to think about. This is the reason for which I have frequent settings in robotic labs, that I have interacting with robots, that I have made something with robots. I have worked with engineer coding robots and stuff like that, in order to understand what is a robot, not through engineers or through journalists or through also people like that, but a direct approach of these machines, even if my understanding is limited because I'm not an engineer and I have not been trained in engineering.
So, can you say, or can I say that it's more of a phenomenological approach, or
Yeah.
you?
It is exactly a phenomenological approach, but I used to avoid that notion because in the field of philosophy, as you know, phenomenology is rather a complex notion.
Right, I mean,
And
other baggage.
I would say that I do a kind of, wide phenomenology,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is very bad for a regular philosopher.
You think?
And the book, the picture,
This one.
you can be back?
Ah, the book before?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me get back. Oops. This
Yeah.
one.
And I put the cover of the book by Herbert Marcuse on One Dimensional Man, was being published in 1964 or something like that, maybe 66 or well, in those years, because there is a very very interesting chapter about positivistic philosophy, and he explained very clearly why that kind of philosophy, roughly what we would call now analytical philosophy, could not deal in a satisfactory way with basic questions society is confronting with. And I think it was right.
Okay. That was in the 70s or?
No, 60s.
60s.
End of the 60s. I think 66, but I'm not quite sure, but that's around that time. I am more influenced by William James's philosophy of effect. William James was a pragmatic philosopher of the end of 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. He was a very open-minded philosopher. He was interested by a lot of things. He done experiments himself. He was interested even by the spirits, stuff like that. And he has proposed a very interesting pragmatic philosophy. I do not agree with all what he has said, but one thing about his pragmatic philosophy is for me very interesting. It's the idea that to be an empiricist is to think about the effects of the phenomena we wish to understand. And what is very interesting, not the consequences, not the causes, but the effects, which is much more interesting. And what is really interesting in his approach is that for him, that's the quotation I have given here in his book. You have the picture on here, the cover on the slide. He said, to be radical, empiricism must not admit into its constructs any element that is not directly experienced, nor exclude any element that is directly experienced. And that the two dimensions of that empiricism, that is very interesting, because most empiricists used to exclude some phenomena because they could not explain this phenomena, they do not know how to deal with this phenomena. And I think that to be a true empiricist, you must be ready to be confronted and to accept to be confronted with very bizarre phenomena you could not explain, but that you have to try to think about. Secondly, the effects in my mind must be a combination of material, psychological, cultural, semiotic, existential, and ontological effects, which definitively put that approach out of the pragmatism of William James' pragmatism. It's much more open. We have to be to adopt a multi-dimensional approach of a philosophy of effects. The second main influence for me is the Austrian epistemologist Paul Feyerabend. Feyerabend is a people that is absolutely hated by most epistemologists. He has developed during the 70s and 80s what he has called an anarchist approach of epistemology, with the idea that everything must go. Everything is acceptable. In other way, in science, you mobilize everything you can mobilize to find interesting results. And then you try to make them more scientific for the community. But to create science, you need to be really open-minded and open to all experiences. And you have to take all hypotheses that could be interesting for you, even as he says, the most extreme of these ideas, how absurd and repugnant these ideas could be for you, and try to push them and to test them until you find an empirical refutation or a logical paradox. How far you can keep an extreme idea. And that's my perspective.
So it's an empirical one. So it's empirical.
Not necessarily empirical, because it could be very intellectual. It could be very logical. And those ideas are not necessarily empirical ideas. Could be philosophical ideas as such, like the idea that, for instance, as we will see, that technologies like robots could transform the kind of existence human will live. This is not an empirical idea. But if we accept that idea, how far could we push it until we find a problem? So my approach of philosophy is an approach in which interesting questions must be revealed in three senses: sensational journalism, exposing a previously hidden scandal to public view, in the sense of the detective novels. You have to find who is the murderer through logical steps. And in the sense of photographic technique or through technology, you have to show what is there, but that you could not have a vision of directly. So the kind of technologies I will be interested in are what I've called insurrectional machines in my book, about insurrectional machines as steps toward a post-biological theory of living. And there's insurrectional machines are precisely the category in which we can put robots, performative robots, or artificial intelligence, but also some puppets, some teddy bears, some fetishes, and a lot of other artifacts. So the kind of artifacts that I will be interested in are performative and existential robots. So what are performative and existential robots? Because that notion is not a regular one. We used to speak about autonomous robots, which is wrong because a robot is never autonomous.
Not 100%.
Hmm?
Not completely.
Not completely. Well, but a human is
Is-
neither.
Yes.
And I reject also the notion of social robots because these robots are not social. To speak about social robots is as if you say that a chair is a social
chair.
because you use it to socialize. So there's robots, performative robots are robots that do things. They perform. And a question is to know what do they perform? And the answer is actions and activities and ethics and other kinds of effects. For example, psychological effects. And some of them are could be seen as alive. I mean, could be seen as kinds of living agents. For me, life is an ideological concept. What is interesting is what it means to be a living agent, but this is the question of another talk.
So it's a difference between a living agent versus a living being.
I never used the notion of living beings. Too much theological for me. I prefer to restrain myself to living agent and to try to make sense of what it means to be a living agent. I use a kind of subversion of the Turing test to explain what is a living agent. In other words, for me, a living agent is an agent with whom already seen as living agents inhabit, not interact, but inhabit with that agent. It means that, briefly, to be a living agent is to live in a certain way with other living agents. And it's absolutely not relativist. It's mobilized a constructionist, relational, and situated approach. Relational, it means that you are living because you live in a certain way with other living agent. It's situated because you are a living agent in some environments, and it's a creationist approach because it means that you do not discover an already existing world, but that you invent the world as well as you perform in that world with at the exceptions of some constraints that you need to take into account, for example, gravity.
Can you say that it's subjective because it's
No, it's not subjective.
It's not subjective.
It's not subjective, it's existential. Because if you say subjective, it could mean that you adopt a relativist approach. It's absolutely not a relativist approach. If you have different conceptions of what is a living agent in a Western contemporary country or in a old African or Asian country like Japan, I'm familiar with, it doesn't mean that you could adopt the conceptions of what it means to be a living agent as you wish. It just means that you have transformed the world in different ways. It's a cubist approach of the reality. And these robots could be very simple. For example, the Tamagotchi is a very simple existential and performative robot. But the most disturbing of these robots are really humanoid robots. I will be back to. So considering the risk posed by existential robots, because that's what I will deal today. We have at least three issues to consider. On n'a pas loupé un truc?
This was the previous one. Let me check.
Okay, cool. So three issues to consider. The first one is that assessing the probability of occurrences for the risks posed by these robots. And I referred here to Taleb's, Nassim Taleb's Black Swan approach. For Taleb, who is a trader and a philosopher, a black swan is an event of low probability, but with great impact on the world. For example, the September 2001 attack has been one of that event. And of course, he said we have a low probability to meet one of these black swans, but because black swans are a multitude of possibilities, the probability to meet at least one black swan in our life is very high. Each black swan, the probability of each black swan is very low, but the probability to meet one of them is very high. So we have to take care of that. We have to prepare ourselves for that. So this is one of the issues posed by existential robots. I mean, to be confronted with very disturbing robots in the coming years. The second issue is to identify relevant problems, expected effects, and the possible consequences. What are the problems that could be raised by these existential robots? The existential robot is a robot that transforms your life. But not only transform your life, but also transform the meaning of your life. And the third issue is considering the effect of these existential robots in the long term.
Yeah, this one is very hard. It's almost impossible to predict.
Impossible to predict, yes. Or difficult to predict.
Very difficult to predict.
Very difficult to predict.
Long-term effects.
Yeah. So one of the questions that is usually discussed now is the question of one of these black swan, the singularity. Singularity is the idea that we will be confronted with an artificial intelligence able to create an artificial intelligence more intelligent than itself, and so by a recurring process to arrive to an artificial intelligence much more intelligent than any human intelligence. The idea is that also that super artificial intelligence will be an hostile artificial intelligence, which means that you have to take care of it. This is one of the consequences we used to think about this performative and existential artificial intelligence and robots. A second example is an impossibility in which we will be to distinguish between truth and falsehood, because we will not know whether we are dealing with an artificial intelligence or with a real human. And we will not be able to know whether the informations we are in front of are true information or false information. The third problem we are ready to be confronted with is the sterilization of imaginations and creativity by creative artificial intelligence. And you see that you have AI, the first artist robot, and above a picture of the strike of the scenarists and writers of Hollywood against the introduction of artificial intelligence in the movie industry of Hollywood. As you know, it's already too late. But the question is, what will become the creator in a world, in a society where machines, intelligent machines, could do as well, or maybe better, and certainly less costly than a real human. But what I wish to discuss here is the question of humanoid machine. Humanoid machines are very interesting machines because they're really useless machines. I mean that there is nothing that a non-humanoid machine, so a human, could do better and less costly than a humanoid machine. So the question is really, why are we so fond of humanoid machines? And for these machines, we have interrelations between phenomenological effects, expectations that are inextricably linked. But we have to think better about what it means to deal with a humanoid machine. Why are we so attracted by humanoid machines? Next.
No, I was thinking about our conversation about why some people are not that fascinated by those machines. So
yeah, but I think that we have two levers to deal with. The first one is to say that we are fascinated by these machines because they are we are influenced by kind of mythology, like the golem or figures like that, or that we have been educated through science fiction, and that we are looking for artifacts like in science fictions and in Netflix series, but these are not satisfactory answers. And my interest is not why we are fascinated by these humanoid machines, but what will be or what could be the consequences of the existence of these machines, and the consequences of a society, to live in a society where we have to share our environments with such machines. And we have to take these machines, I think, in an ethological, to adopt an ethological approach. It means let's observe what these machines do and tries to make sense of what they do by actually observing what they do. So why do we design humanoid robots? We have first trivial ambitions. We want to do such machines. We think that it's you know, a kind of challenge that we have to deal with. And the video sequence is an experience I have done with my colleague, my roboticist colleague, in 2018, where that now has been mobilized to organize a spectacle, a show in a cabaret in the center of Tokyo with classical actors. And they were very reluctant to work with a robot, but they did it finally after having a technical contact with those robots, which is quite disturbing because we do not used to think that to touch a robot is something very important.
What do you mean by technical contact?
Tactical contact.
Tactical?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Touch.
No, I heard technical.
No, tactical. Sorry. It's well, not only to see them, to hear them, but to text them, and in particular to make them something you have to take care of, like a baby or like a child. And it was particularly interesting because one of the problems, as you know, now is that the battery is very low. It's not really a robot for doing something. It's just a robot for show and for demos. And so we have had to think about the possibility to change the battery during the spectacle. So to organize partly the spectacle with that constraints to deal with these robots. So what do we want to do with such complex and costly robots? This is not so clear. My interest will be to know not what we will do with these robots, but in which ways it will transform our existence itself. Yes. And my intuition is that these robots could be very dangerous, but not for the reasons we used to have in mind. And I wish to establish a difference between two kinds of existential risks. Firstly, high intensity existential risks, and then low intensity existential risk. And my intuition is that these machines, these existential machines, humanoid robots and performative robots more generally, could lead to low intensity existential risks. And we will see which one. So what is an existential risk? The idea has been one of the first to have proposed that idea is Nick Bostrom. We see it on the picture with his book on supercomputer, the super artificial intelligence. And Nick Bostrom was director of the Institute for the Future of Humanity at Oxford University. It was a private funded institute about transhumanism. And he was thinking about the future of humanity. And one of his ideas is that precisely artificial intelligence could be very dangerous for humanity because of that singularity. He's one of the guys who who have put in public space, in public arena, the question of singularity. So the risk is that a super hostile computer, artificial intelligence, could take power over humans. But we have all other kinds of existential risks. For example, Martin Rees said in a book of 2003 that we have only. So Martin Rees is the astronomer of the Queen in Great Britain, and he said that we have only a 50% chance of surviving over the next 90 years, which is quite frightening. But for the people over 60 like me, who have no chance to live whatever during the next 90 years. We also have John Leslie. John Leslie is a Canadian philosopher who has discussed 4 major risk categories. First one is what he has called risks already recognized. Nuclear war, biological warfare, chemical warfare, destruction of the ozone layer, greenhouse effect, poisoning by pollution, diseases like the Black Death in the Middle Ages or the COVID more recently. So that's the kind of risk that we already know that could be very destructive risks. Second category is the risks that are often overlooked, and he has 2 groups of that kind of risk. First one is the natural disaster, like volcanic eruptions, like asteroids or comets hitting Earth, like the emergence of a new ice age. He said to passing through an interstellar fluid, which seems to be a real risk, not very important but real. A supernova of big power, or massive, more generally, more massive astronomical explosion, like the ones that could occur when black holes finish evaporating, and essentially unpredictable collapse of complex systems, like the biosphere of the Earth. And I like it very much because it's in his book. He said, and something we don't yet know about. I like that.
Those risks, I mean, could happen at any time, even before our era.
Yeah, but they could have happened before, but they still could
happen again. Happen to.
Yeah, and we have to take care of that, even if those risks are not very high in probability. Second group of risk often go unrecognized. That's man-made disasters. First category was the natural disasters. These are man-made disasters. Refusal to raise children, because children is expensive. It smells not good. It's very boring. It's a kind of enslaving and stuff like that. Another kind of disaster could be linked to genetic engineering. We don't master genetic engineering as well as we should do. And that's the same with nanotechnology disaster. We could have other technological disasters, for example, in agriculture. We could have also kind of problems like the prediction of a new Big Bang in a laboratory. It sounds very fantastic, but don't remember that during the first atomic explosion in 945, before the first atomic explosion, there were some models that said that the Earth's atmosphere will be burnt completely. So it will have been the end of the world. And Oppenheimer nevertheless decided to do it. And we know that it could not have happened. But at that time, it was not so sure. So we can have something like a Big Bang in the creation of a Big Bang in a laboratory. It's not so eccentric. We could have also a war with aliens that could eradicate all the people on Earth, and once again something we don't know about yet. I like this.
Every time
there's
something we don't
finishing indication, knowing that basically he doesn't know about what we are to look for. My favorite are nevertheless the philosophical risks, because to really take care of philosophy is not so frequent. And we have threat associated with religions, Schopenhauerian pessimism, ethical relativism, emotivism, prescriptivism. It doesn't import to know what it means really. It's a kind of conceptual catastrophe. Negative utilitarianism, where we reduce harm rather than we maximize good. The fact that some philosophers only attach ethical weight to those who are already alive. Philosophers who talk about inalienable right, like having as many children as one wants, even if the case of a population. The prisoner's dilemma, placing too much trust in cooperation, which show that philosopher is really a neoliberal philosopher, because the prisoner's dilemma is a thought experiment that has nothing to do with thinking and with experimentation, because the idea, for those who have no idea about the prisoner's dilemma, the idea is that two people attacking a bank are arrested, but police has no proof, and they put each of the guys in a different room. They could not communicate, and they are in front of a dilemma, the prisoner's dilemma. Either they say that they have done the action, and if the other said that he has also done the action, he has middle pain. But if he said that he has done the action and the other said he hasn't done the action, so he has a lower pain and the other has a bigger pain. But if neither of them said that they have done the bad action, they are free, because there is no proof. And usually the theoretician of the prisoner's dilemma said that the rational way is to say that you have done the action because the pain will be lower, because you have no
trust.
You have no trust with the other, and you don't know what the other will do, because you can't communicate, which is just a silly conclusion, because you don't attack a bank with somebody you don't know. It's just stupid. So in such situation, you know what could be the answer of the other. And then the philosophical risk, the last is the notion of retributive justice, rational consistency with a nuclear attack.
And just a quick question about the threats associated with religions. Is it philosophy versus religion, or is it the religious behavior or the dogmatic behavior that some philosophers can?
For him, it's much more dogmatic religion. Let's think that he's a Canadian Canadian Anglophone people, and that he must be a Protestant. And all that philosophy is a Protestant philosophy, like neoliberalism. It is mainly a Protestant philosophy. Yeah. So these are high intensity existential risks, and they never discussed that theoretician never discussed the low intensity risk. And I think that humanoid robotics is an example of that kind of low intensity existential risk we could be confronted with. Okay. So humanoid robots. Humanoid robots have contradictory properties, which is interesting. Because they look like humans, they behave like humans, or they could behave deeply like humans, but they are not humans. So with them, the analyst is confronted with an ontological impossibility. And that ontological impossibility is that of a person who is nobody. In French literary, it means better because it's a personne qui est une non-personne, a person who is a non-person. And above, you see the picture above is a picture that shows that an interview by Philip Kindred, science fiction writer Philip Kindred, was had a database of all the interviews of the writers during his lifetime. So his answers are true answers. I mean, answers that could have been given by the real Philip Kindred. But as you see, the robot is not well achieved. It has a head that is still in constructions, in building. And basically, you have Ishiguro and Ishiguro's twin, robot twins above, and you are supposed not to know who is the robot and who is the real Ishiguro. But basically, all the pictures showing that robots are pictures in front. If you see the real robots, you will show that there are a lot of engineering stuff in the back of the robots. So you could hesitate in front of the robots, but if you could turn around, there is no more hesitations. So that's very special artifacts. But some of them are very, very realistic, like Sophia. Sophia is one of the most famous humanoid robots in the world. It has been designed by Hanson. And Hanson is a very interesting people because he is not an engineer. He is a guy who was a specialist of special effects in Disney. And he has invented the skin of the robots, that special skin, fiber, who is very realistic. And he has done that in his kitchen. At least he said that, which means that it's a kind of homemade cooking, and nobody knows how that skin is done. And it is that robot is linked with an artificial intelligence, and she is traveling all around the world. She does only that to explain how important it is to love children, women, and animals, and that she really cares about the future of humanity. And you could say, well, you could think by yourself, what does it mean? What does it mean that a humanoid robot said like that? I am very concerned by the future of humanity. I am very concerned by the future of ecology. So the effects of the robot is a very complex one, because objectively she doesn't do anything. You see on right, the picture on right, what is really that robot. it's not so much a robot because it doesn't move really, but it has a position of robots and is always mobilized in interactions with people, with important people from the United Nations or UNESCO or organizations like that. And she interacts to promote the right of women, the right of children, the right of nature. And she's very good, but what does it mean when it's done by a robot like that?
Mhm.
So one of the first existential risks of such robot, one of the main existential risks of such robot is to destroy the nature of language, because it's very difficult to understand really what it means to what it means that language that robot speak, because that robot speaks, but nobody speaks. Basically, it's a language without any interlocutor. It's a language in which nobody speaks. It's a kind of autonomous language. So it's very weird because first you could wonder what it means. But we already have met that when in, for instance, in ancient Greek civilization, when you have the pithy telling stuff, it's like stuff like that. Nobody knows who was speaking. A spirit. It was supposed to be a kind of spirit, but it was not really clear. But the question that is interesting for me is that not who is speaking. Is it important to know whether somebody is speaking or not? But my interest is to know how it transforms the nature itself of language. When you are interacting with artifacts like that, when you are cohabiting with artifacts like that. Here is the picture of a movie, of the famous movie Her. Do you remember? It's a movie in which a guy was a very interesting profession because he, as you remember, he was a writer of love letter for people who do not know how to write love letter to the people they wish to seduce. So he writes that love letters for this. It was his job, and he became in love. He fell in love with an operating system, the voice of an operating system, and it was a romance. It was a very strong relationships, and at the time he asked the wrong questions. He was a little bit jealous, and he asked the voice, "Do you have that kind of relationships with another man?" And the voice answered, "Oh yes." And he said the second bad question. He said, "How many other men?" And the voice answered, "Oh, I don't know, maybe 2 million." And here he suddenly realized that he was not in the good story. And what is interesting for me with all these situations is that the nature itself of language is really deeply transforming. And my intuition is that after such technologies, we do not speak in the same way as before these technologies, even if I do not know exactly how to describe that transformation, but precisely that a task for a philosopher. A second problem. Let's go back.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
This one.
The second low intensity existential risk, and I speak of low intensity existential risk because it really disturbs your way of representing who you are, who is a human, but it's not very violent. It's a slow process, a very deep, disturbing phenomena, but it's a slow process. It doesn't happen in 2 minutes, like the explosion of an atomic bomb.
This is why it's more dangerous.
It's more dangerous, yeah.
Because we are not we know when it's a big danger. And...
Oh well, I said dangerous, but it's not a good word because it transforms humans and what it means to be a human, as you know, for the best and for the worst. And now, from now, we used to think that will be a disaster. But from the point of view of the future, it probably will be seen as a great, hopeful transformation. And the second problem is that humanoid robots disrupt the identification with the human, with robots that looks like humans, that are very similar to humans. The question will be, well, basically, how could I recognize a real human? And it's, as you know, that the problem, the hero of Blade Runner is confronted with. His job is to hunt humanoid robots, but they are so perfect that it's extremely difficult to know who is a humanoid robot and who is a real human. The only way to do that is to pass them a test, the void test. And the test is about the reactions you have confronting with a natural living being, like an animal. Because these robots have no empathy, which means that they have to compute all the data in order to know what is the real the questions that the tester will wait for. But it's very fast. It goes very fast because they are very powerful machines. But it nevertheless takes a few seconds, and that through that difference, that the guy is able to make a decision about who is a robot and who is a real human. So the questions could be who is a real human and who is a robot. Basically, in regular interactions, in regular social life, you don't have a lot of ways to know whether you could be a real human or you could be a robot. And now on the internet, frequently you have to say that you are a real human.
Yes.
And I think that will be generalized. I mean that you will not be able to enter some spaces if you are not real human, and you will have to certify that you are a real human before entering in some spaces, in some environments, and so on. So it will be very difficult to identify the humans, even if those robots are not so perfect, because a human is not so perfect. A lot of humans have difficulties to understand other humans. And so to say that it will be very clear to know whether it's a human or not a human is not so clear. It's not so easy for a lot of people to be able to. It will not be easy for a lot of people to be able to recognize who is a real human and who is a very well imitated robots. So that will be the second existential, low intensity existential risk. And the third one is existential capitalism. Existential capitalism is the transformation of human existential needs and expectations like friendships, love, narcissism, care, and so on, into marketable product. And I have given here some example with the market for artificial companions for isolated people. And as you know, there are a growing number of Japanese women marrying digital avatars, which could be seen as digital robots, and they are very very happy with that, and they educate their future husband, and each of them have particular features, and they are very very strongly attached to that avatar. And a question is, of course, to know what will be a regular relationships between a man and a woman, or two men or two women, as soon as we will be we will live in a society in which it will be regular to have to marry with such personage. And the question of the Promethean shame. The question of the Promethean shame is also a growing problem, with confronted with very efficient machines. We will be in shame of being only a human. And you will need to have you will have a market to help you to assume that you are a real human and not a more perfect robot. A fourth possibility, a fourth threat is destabilizing the phenomenon of life, of living being. If we have a lot of a machine that are alive, what will be the relationships, the situation of an organic living agent compared to a non-organic living agent? Sherry Turkle, as you know, has been one of the first to show the problems when she visited Orlando Zoo with her teenager daughter, and confronted with, after a visit to the Disney Center of Orlando, and confronted with a real turtle, the girl said, well, the artificial turtle was more perfect. Okay, and there's that organic turtle doesn't look like a real turtle. The artificial turtle looks like more like real turtle, which is a reversal of the regular way to try to evaluate the artifact, comparing it with the organic model, and not the reverse. So in conclusion, first point is that, well, so the conclusion is that we are confronted with dangerous technology, but not necessarily in the way we think these technologies are dangerous. We are really transforming ourselves, and the meaning of what it means to be alive and the meaning of what it means to be a human are deeply changing with these technologies. In other words, in a couple of years or a couple of decades, because it could be slow, but maybe not so slow as we used to think. To be a human will mean very different thing than today. and we have to take care of that. And some of the characteristics of humans we attach to more the most interest or importance, like love or friendship, will change deeply. The meaning of these features will change deeply. In other words, once you could be a friend with a robot, once you could have a robot friend, the notion, it's the very notion of friendship is deeply transforming, even between two humans. So we have to take care about the words. So my first important conclusion, we have to take very care about the words we use to describe, to refer to phenomena in the world. That's the first point. We have to take care of that, to seriously take care of how we use the words. Secondly, we have to be conscious, to be aware of the fact that using existential technologies leads to change in what it means to be human. And I have given here three books, three important books in that perspective. First, Plato, Lestel, with that is a dialogue in which Plato says, well, be careful about writing, because with writings you will lose memory. So to use writing is not only to have an artificial, a technical device to do better something. It transforms yourself deeply. The second book is Marshall McLuhan's The Gutenberg Galaxy, in which Marshall McLuhan explained that printing has deeply transformed the world, as well as writing, but in another way. And the third book that interests me is in that way is Julian Jaynes, that very bizarre book, but very interesting, published in 1976, and called "The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind," in which he explains that consciousness emerged is not natural to human, but it emerged in a historical process. And we can have an idea about the timing of that emergence because in the Iliad, there is no consciousness. And in the Odyssey, we have consciousness. So the consciousness appeared between the writing of Iliad and the writing of the Odyssey. If consciousness has emerged like that, in a logical point of view, we could regress and we could lose our consciousness. So I think that we have to take into account, seriously take into account, the possibility that we could be confronted with humans, I would not say with no consciousness, but with a different kind of consciousness than the one we have now. Nevertheless, we have no idea about the future. And maybe we will have a return of kinds of shamanism with a very different kinds of co-residency, co-living with such intelligent machine. Maybe something like a new kind of shamanism, a new alliance with spirits and with minds, with demons, with spirits and with demons, could be one way to deal in satisfactory ways with these technologies. In other words, what I wish to say here, and it will be my conclusion, is that we certainly not have all the possibilities in mind, and that what will happen will maybe be, or will certainly be, very different of what we are figuring out now. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really interesting. I switch up. Thanks a lot. It was.
Thanks.
You can hear you, Eric. You can go ahead. Very interesting, very dense. Many questions in my head. I guess all of you. You can just make a small break, maybe 1, 2, 3 minutes. And for those that want to join, we will put the link on the chat. And feel free to join the Google Meet. If you have any questions, you are welcome. See you in like 2, 3 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. And now it's a Q&A session. So we had I think it was 1 hour, 20 minutes, very dense. We will start with a few questions from Eric, Heyong, and myself. I have many questions, but I will start maybe very quickly with one to launch the discussion. And it was about the last 2-3 slides that we saw about existential capitalism. This looks very obvious, and it seems like it's already the case today. We see capitalism trying to capture the latest, I would say, places where the market is not in yet, and I feel like one of the main danger is having the capitalism going into those markets, the emotional markets, even though there is still...
It's not only the emotional market.
Not just the emotional, of course.
I think that there is also the existential market.
Yeah.
Not only how to feel better, but also how to know who you are and how to become who you wish to be, but not as a successful manager, but as a fully developed human being.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the main danger, and we see this already in everything. For instance, in healthcare, our health became it was, but more and more a market. So I guess we don't need people that are healthy to have a business model that works well. We need people that are depends on this industry, and what would be the main danger of capitalism in this regard? If we engage, you said existential.
I think that I would answer that that's only hypothesis. I would answer that the danger would be that to know what the meaning of your existence would depend too much about a market, about some available goods you could buy. As soon as you can buy what the meaning of your what could be the meaning of your life, I think that it's a very frightening situation.
Okay. So that means that it put us our existence, not our existence, but doubting about what we really are. Even though, can we not say that we already are we not already lost a little bit in what to define what is a human being? Can we say that we maybe because of technology, and not just technology, today we have limited the human potential? You've mentioned, for instance, shamanism and all the spiritual aspects, and those kind of things are already marginalized, for at least in the Western world. Maybe in this regard, and this was for me maybe the positive or the optimistic view of your talk at the end, was that maybe because of AI and robots going so far, and that we have to coexist, we need to really discover what we really are as human, and consider aspects of other cultures or other traditions that were put aside for a long time, like shamanism, or could be anything, just mentioning that. So it could be a danger, but on the other hand, maybe it's a chance for human being or humanity to rediscover what we really are.
Everything is both a danger and an opportunity.
Yes.
My attitude, my posture is not to reject something as such, but to try to make something interesting. And I would say interesting, meaningful, and not positive. To make something meaningful, and to not to say it's too bad that we are in such or such situation, but how could I transform the situation to make it more meaningful for me, more for us, more interesting, more fruitful. So, but I don't think that what I've called existential capitalism is nevertheless a good way. But the rising of that kind of capitalism could make grow other kinds of cooperation, communications between humans and other than humans. So it could have a positive effect. Unlike its ups, unlike its will. I mean that existential capitalism for me is bad. But the result of the emergence of that existential capitalism could lead to something that could be good, that could be interesting. That will not be existential capitalism, but that could have happened because of that existential capitalism.
Yeah. It's a reaction, could be a reaction of...
Not a reaction, because that's too much usual reaction of the, left-wing people. We must react against
It's not,
against capitalism. We must react against market. We must no. It's just nonsense. So you have not to react. You have to make emerge something new. And that's one of the reasons for which the left wing is so bad now, that it's too much in reaction and not in creation of something new.
Yeah. Less maturity maybe, and I understand, because the kind of putting energy against, or for instance, I give an example. Many people, as you said, there is something you said, AI or robots are not good or bad, and the simplification would be to say AI is bad or robots are bad, and so we have to oppose energy against it. We have to oppose ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this approach is really hard to sustain, because, as you said, there is polarities in everything, good and bad, depending on what we do with with this technology. The second thing is the power that is put on those machines is so big that it's hard to go against. And so maybe a better way is to how to use it for the best instead of reacting.
Yeah.
So there's
Let me give you an example. Now I am fascinating with jellyfishes. And jellyfishes are very, very, very strange animals, because they have no cognition, they have no hierarchy, no orders, they do not receive order. They are pure anarchist animals. And they have not really activity, they are very passive creatures. Nevertheless, how old is the modern human? 300,000 years. You know how old are jellyfishes? 350 million years. Which means that humans are not very efficient. No, and we are in danger. So we are not very efficient. But jellyfishes are very efficient. And they do nothing. They're absolutely not activists. They just go. And we could figure out a civilization, a kind of civilization, in which we will have machines and artificial intelligence machines and ambitious people that will be very active, and most people adopting a strategy like the one of the jellyfish. It will be a kind of, let's say, a jellyfish civilization. We have no idea of what it means. A civilization in which people will be very passive, where passivity will be a big value. So it will not be against the activity, the activism of machines and some people, but through the activism of these people to develop a new kind of civilization.
Yeah, this kind of thinking, we see it a lot in Oriental, like in Taoism and
no, because in Oriental religions or in Oriental spirituality, you nevertheless have to take care about the possibility to become better. In the jellyfish approach, you have no expectation, no wish, nothing. Even in the Zen posture, you wish to become aware. When you are a jellyfish, you have even not that wish to become aware. You don't mind to be aware or not.
Yeah, that's a good example in the Zen posture. Yeah, especially, but when you look at some of the Zen tradition, I think one of them is really developed in Paris. Is when you put an objective of being aware, it's done.
Yeah,
you have to.
You know, there are a lot of situations in which, when you wish to do it, you just can't have it or do it. For example, I like that example of being spontaneous. If you wish to become spontaneous, you will never become spontaneous.
Yes.
You can be an active, spontaneous person.
So yeah, I see. It's go with the flow and not react, not being reactive, no expectation.
No expectation, no ambitions, no reactivity. Just go ahead. So you will say, but that will not be a civilization. That will be the end of civilization. Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that will be another kind of civilization. A
post-ambitious positive
civilization.
What did you say, Eric?
I was not sounding very positive. I feel a lot of a negative vibe in this presentation. So at some point, I mean, there was some words that were coming that you used and not really defined. Was insurrectional machine, which was appealing to my ear. So insurrectional machine, you say that? Yeah, and I was wondering, like, if, because I mean, I saw this negative existential risk, if you are kind of assuming like the co-evolution must go through friction always, or there can be some form of symbiosis, something, more positive feedback loops coming with, developing the technology, make human evolve in a right way, and same way human interacting with the technology. For instance, you're talking about the battery problem in this show, I think it was. And you see that human depends on robots, but the same way robots depends on human. And so we are evolving. We are nursing robots. We are debating with them. We are, it's both ways thing. And it's not only like there is a risk and a consumption of a robotics evolution. I don't know. I mean, do you have more symbiotic ways of seeing things?
I'm not sure that I understood the question because I'm a little bit deaf, so it's difficult for me.
The sound is always very bad.
I increase the sound. Go ahead, if you can repeat, Eric.
I mean, it was really about trying to understand what you mean by insurrectional machine, and if you assume that co-evolution always goes through friction.
Yeah, the idea of insurrectional machine is that. In that way, I mean, to be alive with is necessary through what I've called frictions. It means through non-soft kinds of interactions. I don't like the word interactions because interactions is too short in time, but on the long time is the fact that you have frictions with these machines, and that it emerge a kind of co-live,
Coexistence.
coexistence. Yeah, coexistence. Is that clearer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But when you say friction, I mean, is it like a negative meaning, or is it like, it can be positive or negative interactions?
It's both positive and negative. It's the reason for which I use a word like friction, that is a non-regular word to deal with these questions.
Mm. Another questions, I mean, sorry, I did not interrupt during the presentation, but on one slide you say that we are rejecting autonomous machine, but then, like, I think it was like 2 slides later, you are talking about this singularity, when suddenly AI goes rogue and, kind of having his own agency, self-driven, discover his own meaning, and become a danger because it's pursuing something that we have not designed it for. How do you reconcile both? I mean, it sounds pretty much autonomous to me.
Because I think that singularity is a fantasy. It's not a real problem.
So you think that systems will never basically find a way to have their own intentionality or be self-driven?
No, I think that a machine will always be working with alliances with at least some humans. I don't think that a machine could be could work alone.
But in that case, I mean, what would it be hostile? I mean, it would be at least friend of some human. It's the humans driving them that would be hostile and not the machine itself. So the machine is not the existential risk. The existential risk is the humans using machine.
I say hostile because from the point of view of the humans, the machine will be understood as hostile. For the machine could say that humans have to behave like in such a way because it's better for them, like a mother with her children. You should behave in that way because it's good for you.
So it's basically weaponization that you fear.
Yeah, and that could be the problem. It means that in that case, the machine could oblige you to do something because it thinks that it's better for you to be in that way. But from the point of view of the humans, it will be hostile. But once again, I don't think that the machine could be autonomous. I think that it will always be alliances with at least some humans.
I kind of agree. I mean, I don't see machine having a meaning without us, or at least some of us. But yeah.
Isn't already the case? Are we not already in this case?
Yeah.
Where we have few people that are driving these AI systems, and they already can, of course, build those systems, influence the way we think, about the truth, what is right, what is not. And so behind our human.
I would agree with you, but not a few humans. I would say a lot of humans, because you have, of course, engineers designing the systems, but also the managers implementing the systems, and also educators educating you to use the systems, and so on. People telling you what to do, the influencer, I don't know how you say that in English. The YouTube masters telling you what you have to do. Basically, a lot of people are involved.
Life.
A lot of people are involved in the process.
I see. So it would be pushed far away, meaning that maybe the lower layers will be pushed out, and we will keep only the top few human on the top of the hierarchy that will
not necessarily that
weaponize AI.
Not necessarily that way. Remember that La Boétie, for example, in the 16th century, said that you could not be in servitude if you don't agree about that. And I think that our relationships with machines will be like that. And one of the reasons is that we will have a lot of interest being enslaved by machines.
That's interesting.
Another term that was appealing to me in your presentation was a Promethean shame. I don't know if it's yours, but I like the idea.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real danger. I mean, in my opinion, and I would like to have your view on that, it's also, might be one of the, would say, motivation for transhumanism, where people, start having implants like, Neuralink or neural implants, technology to augment them, even genetic technology. And, a temptation to cross, I would call the ethical boundaries we are fixing ourselves. And, one thing that I did not see, or maybe I missed it in your presentation, was, about this potential fusion between human and machines, which is permitted by technology. And we are basically engineering ourselves to, live in a future world.
No, I think that there are two different processes, two different situations. The shame, the Promethean shame, as discussed by Gunther Anders, is to say that machines are so perfect that I am nothing. And it's a shame that I have been born and not built by a designer. The transhumanism doesn't say that. The transhumanism said that if it becomes something of a machine, it will be more efficient. It has no shame. He just thinks that he could improve himself through the machines.
But could the shame be the motivation?
No,
to
not the
jump in?
shame, not the shame. The wish to become more efficient, which is different. In the shame, you have a kind of culpability. In the other way, you understand that you are not strong enough and you wish to become stronger. It's not the same. In the culpability, you say that's too bad that I am not a machine, and you are in negative mood. With the
But if
transhumanist,
someone comes and says, hey, I have a solution for you, just put this implant, and suddenly you will think as fast as
yeah,
the machine.
that's the difference between the shame of not being a machine and the positive, the negative feeling of the shame of not being a machine, and the positive feeling of knowing that through the merging with machines, you could become more efficient.
Okay.
Maybe I can have the last question
No, go ahead. We still have.
Go ahead.
because it's almost 6.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So I have one question. So you talked a lot about existential robot, existential risk, existential. And it wasn't very clear to me what you mean by this existential. Because
Okay.
it could mean many different things in philosophy. So I just want you to clarify what you mean by existential here in this context.
Okay. Existential for me is refers to the meaning of your life. What is the meaning of your life? What do you wish to be? What do you wish, or who do you wish to be? What kind of humans you wish to be? Not as a specialist, a designer, an engineer, a philosopher, but what kind of person you wish to be? What is important for you to be? And what are the actions you are ready to engage yourself in order to become that human you wish to be, or you think is better.
Then what is this existential robot?
Existential robot is a robot that makes you think about your existential situation.
So this existential robot is not really existential itself, but it is about you, human.
Yeah, you are right. Existential robot is not a robot that has an existential position. It's a robot that that transforms the existential situation of humans. You're perfectly right.
Mm-hmm. So in that sense, I think it could be a little misleading when you put performative and existential one next to each other.
No, performative. It means that you have actions, that you do things.
And who is you in this case?
With you have the machine. The machine has performances, actions, activities, or predictions of effects.
So these actions, these performances, are the performances of a machine.
Yeah.
But this existence and this existential side is on the human side.
Yeah.
So that wasn't very clear from, because especially when they're put together, performative and existential robot, then you could naturally question then who is performative and who is existential, and whose meaning is this?
Okay. That's not so clear.
Yeah.
I'm clear about that. Because through these machines, you transform yourself, your existence.
Mm-hmm.
The meaning of your existence, the meaning of what it means to be human.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a interlinked process.
Mm-hmm.
But the machines in themselves, they are not. They have no existence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It has no existence, so it's not existential in that sense, but it still can perform. So it kind of acts like a subject. Not that it is a subject, not that I'm saying that you are calling that a subject.
You put the finger on a difficulty.
Yeah, that's how philosophy does.
Of the situation.
Yeah.
Because what is happening in that process is not so clear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a task for a philosopher to understand what is at stake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with these machines, we have to think about that. We do not know yet what is at stake. We have to discover that. We have to understand that. That's a task for future.
I agree. That's why I asked this question.
And I could say that you could ask the questions about consciousness. And you could say, well, but that the difference between the machine and the human is that human have a consciousness and the machine has no consciousness.
Well, in your context, from my point of view, not necessarily. You don't have to talk about consciousness in this context, in this particular context.
Yeah,
because
I prefer to avoid the notion of consciousness.
I see that.
Yeah.
And that's why you probably chose this wording like existential.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why I also wanted to ask you to clarify it. Because like you also pointed out, you could very naturally connect this to the notion of consciousness and how we usually think about all this matters.
Yeah.
So that's why I just wanted to ask you this question too.
I prefer to avoid the notion of consciousness.
Right, and this avoidance has to come
I do not say avoid. I would not say that it doesn't exist. I just said that I prefer not to refer to it, at least now.
I understand, I get
because it hides it hides the phenomenon, because we used to think, well, that's because consciousness.
I think personally, excuse me, philosophically, if we or if you could say more about this side of existential, I think it could be very interesting. Like, so, yeah.
What it means, existential?
Yeah, what you want to say with this exactly, with this existential.
Well, as I said, it refers to the way the way of living and the meaning you attribute to that way of living. Why it is important to do that and not that? Why it is necessary to do that? For example, to give hospitality to another one, or not to give, or not to do something. For example, to rob your neighbor. That's existential decision, or to make to wish to have children, and we have problems with the language, because we used to say I wish to have children, or I don't wish to have children, as if it has a meaning to say that I wish to have children. It would better to say I would prefer to not to have children, but to be children. It means that, you know that you have a lot of people who wish to have children and who can't have children, and they are very frustrated because they think that it's something that you can do and not something that happens to you. In other culture, to have children is seen as a gift and not as a wish.
Mm.
And it's a little bit rough to say that, but what I wish to say is that we have to be very careful about the way we speak about things, because the way we speak about things are transforming the nature of the things.
We do have a problem, or many problems with language, definitely, because even when you say wish in terms of existential and so on, that comes with this danger, or well, maybe I don't want to call it danger, but this chance to fall right back to the problem of subjectivity again, because then who wishes, who's the agent who wishes? So when you use this terminology, wish, for what you want to describe, we automatically come with this, whole baggage of.
It's the reason for which I said that we say that we wish to have children, and maybe it will be better to say that we are children, which means that we are engaged in a process through which children appear.
So that's why you probably wanted to say when you said something, this living in terms of relationality.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also the reason for which I referred to jellyfish. Because through jellyfish, we also could think what could be a way of living without subjectivity.
Okay. Yeah. And I think I understand it a little better now.
I would not say that it's okay, that it's satisfying, but it's just a way to try to do that. And I think that it is. Thank you for your question, because it's a way to show precisely why it's so difficult to make sense of these machines, because we have the language to do it, and that it's a true challenge to find the language, the right language, or the fruitful language to talk about these questions, to think about these questions. And it's a process, a core process to understand the process and to find the ways to speak, not about this process, but to speak these processes.
Thank you.
So jellyfish don't wish to have kids. They come as a gift for jellyfish.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned enslave earlier. enslave human being.
Enslaved.
Yes, human being would like to be enslaved somehow by robots.
Yeah.
I will make a simple reasoning. If we consider that these robots are built by existential capitalism or neoliberalism, they build those robots. Those robots enslave human are okay to be enslaved by those robots. Can we say that maybe a human likes to be enslaved by neoliberalism and capitalism?
Yeah.
So it's not a shift in paradigm, but it's some extending what we are already living, especially in the West, where we are basically enslaved to this neoliberalism and we accept it.
Yeah, because one feature of neoliberalism is to to convince you that the kind of enslavement it gives is the one you wish.
Yes. So you think you are free, so you don't look for freedom, or you don't look for it
You
because
think that you are free. I give you an anecdote. One of my seminars about contemporary anarchist thought, and all my students, of course, are convinced that anarchism is about liberty, about freedom. And I ask them other questions. For you, what is freedom? And they always give me a neoliberal definition of freedom. Freedom is the ability to choose between two things. The freedom is for them the ability to choose between pre-given options. Basically, that's that, and not to invent yourself the ways you will do. Not necessarily choosing between options. That is a new liberal definition of freedom. Freedom is the ability to buy what you wish to buy, and to choose what you
which car, or
which car, which house, which woman or which man. That's the consumer society.
Yes.
Consumer society that you can choose. You can buy everything, and you can have many options to buy what you wish to buy.
Isn't that two kind of existential risk in that case? Because I mean, there's some that are inherent to the nature of AI. Like when, for instance, you say that we might lose our creativity, and this might be inherent to AI. But when we talk about enslaving by AI becomes a weapon, so just a mean for someone else. So it's people enslaving people, and AI is just a mean.
Yeah.
So some are, related to AI and AI by itself, and others are people using AI.
Yeah, I think you are right. It's not AI enslaving people. It's other people enslaving people. It's people enslaving other people through AI. And one of the main problem that could emerge is that we will find satisfaction with AI to create. I mean, a lot of people are very happy to write stories through ChatGPT, and we have to say that it's really it's very performant in a certain way. And I'm sure that a lot of people could say, well, with ChatGPT, I'm just a writer. I could write my whole stories. And with ChatGPT telling you sometimes, wow, that's a good idea. That's a fantastic possibility. Thank you. And it could be very, very engaging. It could be very, very nice for you to be in that situation and not to realize that this is not true creativity. And a lot of people are not true creative. And we could ask why not so many people are creative. And we have two kinds of answer. The first one is that, we have creative people and we have not creative people. And we have another kind of answer that I prefer, is that Maybe you have people more creative than others, but through your education, you could become creative or not. And a kind of a way to understand education is to say that it's a way to make you not too much creative, because it's very difficult to manage creative people.
Yeah, it's hard to predict the future, but if we are already, and I think we are already enslaved to neo-capitalism and neoliberalism and capitalism, I still see maybe a chance with AI. It could be maybe the latest step of the neoliberalism. If we consider neoliberalism taking all the market that are that miss the market, I mean that's like we said about beings and other stuff. There could be a chance for humanity, because maybe this way neo-capitalism will reach an end, and human will be forced somehow to get back to what they are really, and to understand how to work collectively. So is this too optimistic as a vision? Or it's like, as you said, we were talking, you said you push things, you push weird questions, weird experiments, and you push further and further, and you see how far you can go. And I'm wondering if maybe with AI, neoliberalism will go far away, and it would be the far way it can go, and this will not reactively, but human will have to collectively understand what they are really. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but
there is a stream of ideas called accelerationism that has been discussed in the 2000 years, and whose main idea is that we have to push capitalism as far as it can in order to make it explode and find a socialist society. But, and we have such ideas like that in Gilles Deleuze, for example. And we have people having taken back that idea, like Nick Land, who is one of the main theoreticians of the approach of Trump right now. And what is happening is that to push as far as you can capitalism leads to a very brutal capitalism, and there are no signs that it will collapse. So one possibility with that strategy is that first you have a more brutal capitalism with the idea that it could become better, with a capitalist with good consciousness, because they do for the good of humans,
of course,
pushing the capitalism as far as they can.
Yeah.
So in a certain way, it's a dangerous idea. I'm not sure that it will be.
I'm not like saying we have to push. I'm just wondering, maybe AI will push the limits so far that it will we will be forced. We like human will be forced to understand what they are really, and to redo society together. It's not about the capitalism itself, but more a consequence of going so far, not as a reaction, as you said, but an alternative, because people will be forced. They will have to face this danger of robots, which are a weapon of...
Yeah, but we could say that we don't need to go as far as that.
Yes, of course.
We already are in a situation that doesn't work.
Yeah, of course, yes. Yeah. I agree. Okay, thanks. Do you have any question, Eric, Heyon?
Well, speaking of children, my child is still very sick, so I think it's good time to wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Eric.
Good time to wrap up.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Dominique.
Thank you.
It was
Thank
really
you.
good to have you. Thanks to AIFE and AIDA also, because this is where we connected. So you have to follow these guys. I will put the link on the chat. Thanks, and you are welcome anytime.
Thank you.
And I learned a lot, so thank you. This is why we do this seminar, by the way. It's an excuse for us to learn things. So, thank you all for following us. For those that are interested, we have all our social network, projet.y or projet.y in English, on X, YouTube, Discord, whatever. And if you're interested to talk or to give a talk or whatever, you can email us. You can find it also on our website. So with that, thank you. Have a nice, I would say, Happy New Year. I don't know if we can say Happy New Year, but good, bonne fête à tous. And see you next time, probably in 26. Ciao.
Ciao.